And we are live. Welcome everyone to tonight's final VP support session. My name is Ray Laxon, and we are here tonight to talk about Toastmasters Mentoring. And joining me will be special guest Ross Wilkinson. For some of you who have been regularly attending, you've seen Ross's name in the past. We've spoken on other topics related to Toastmasters, and tonight it's all about mentoring. And Ross is really one of the most experienced Toastmasters in our district. He's got a lot of experience, as you'll find out in a few moments. And so I'm really excited to have him tonight. Thank you, Ross, for coming on board here.
My pleasure, Ray.
All right, let's get this going. Tonight's topic is about mentoring. So just for the benefit of all those who are meeting you for the first time, Ross, can you tell us just how long have you been in Toastmasters again?
Right. This is my 13th year in Toastmasters. My home club is Fremantle Gateway Toastmasters. I was very lucky when I joined the club. The first two people I met in the club are still members there, and that's Jeanette Farrar and Steve Barry. And they've been my mentors right through from the day I joined 13 years ago until today.
Wow.
And it is superb because I went through the leadership stream and ended up being the district governor for the whole of Western Australia. Mm-hmm. But it's always nice to have people in the background that'll just tap you on the shoulder and bring you back down to earth and just say, Ross, how about this? How about changing a little thing here or there? And it is so invaluable to have those two as my original and still current mentors. I've also been very lucky to have other people as my mentors along the way, including Mike Helm, who's our only international director from Western Australia up to date.
Wow. Yeah, he's a familiar name. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Mike yet. I've had the pleasure of meeting Steve recently in DTM Pathways, so it's really nice to finally see him face to face. Great guy. You mentioned that you were mentored by these three, but I was just wondering, have you yourself been a mentor to others as well, and how long have you been so?
Oh, definitely. I'd like to just explain the old and the new mentoring, because in the old traditional Toastmaster education system, mentoring appears in two instances. First, in the old Competent Leader Manual, which some of our members are still completing because they've got until the end of June next year to complete the Competent Leader Manual. I've just recently bought 10 of the Competent Leader Manuals for different club members to hand them out because there's still ample time for people to complete that manual in the old system. And it has got some great tips in there about leadership. And Project 9 in the Competent Leader Manual is all about mentoring. And it goes through the mentoring system, and it also turns around and you have to mentor a new person for their first 3 project speeches, or you mentor an existing member for their next 3 project speeches. So the Competent Leader Manual and Toastmasters with the Competent Leader Manual recognised that mentoring was a critical element of leadership. Mm-hmm. On top of that, on the communication stream in the old traditional system, the Advanced Communicator Gold Award, you had to coach a new member for their first 3 speeches. And let me make this very clear, you can't use the same person that you're using in Competent Leader for your Advanced Communicator Gold. And I know there is a lot of members out there still trying to achieve these traditional awards under the old system before the expiry date of June 30, 2020. So mentoring in the old system with the Competent Leader Manual, Project 9, and the Advanced Communicator Gold is still very relevant to us as Toastmasters, for your Toastmasters in your clubs that are still in the traditional system. Then we have got Pathways, which is just a totally new kettle of fish, and we'll go into that in more details. To get back to Ray's question, I've mentored a lot of people in Toastmasters, and the 3 mentors that I've had are only just 3, but there are numerous other ones. For instance, I've just asked Tim Blackburn from DTM Pathways to mentor me to try and develop a particular type of speech that I want to present, and that will be a 6 to 12 month project with Tim. So he's going to be mentoring me on a specific project that I want to develop. So it's an ongoing thing. And I personally believe Toastmaster clubs really fall down in mentoring.
Mm.
Very, very much so. Like I've mentored on an ad hoc situation, members of my home club. We decided about 3 or 4 years ago to establish a mentor coordinator because I believe that a vice president of education or vice president of membership are far too busy in their roles to be able to look after the mentoring, the education, and now base camp as well. We've appointed a non-official club officer position as the mentor coordinator. So once a person joins the club, they know who the more experienced members, how many mentees or proteges in the new system they're called, that they've got, and they won't overload people. But the old school of thought was, oh, you had to complete a competent communicator, or maybe level 1 or 2 in pathways, become a mentor. I don't think that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's breaking the rules of Toastmasters, I guess. Just that sometimes a young and enthusiastic person in your club, and it doesn't have to be that young, who's done 6 or 7 speeches, has got so much fresh new knowledge that they could be the right person to invigorate a newer member as a protege.
Mm. That's an interesting point that you bring, Ross, because I also encounter that a lot when people are trying to, they have a sense of, who am I to do this? Who am I to teach other people? When in fact, the best mentors are probably just a couple of steps ahead of the other people, because that's really how fresh it is, how cutting edge they are. So as long as you're 2 steps ahead of the other person, then you can help them to get to where you are. And by the time that they get to where you are, you're already 2 steps further ahead of them. So in that sense, you can continuously help them along your path.
Correct. And also, I know this is a VPE session, but for membership as well, it's normally great to get a new person to be speaking to somebody that's just as a guest or a visitor, mm-hmm. because they're so enthusiastic. They've joined, they've done 2 or 3 speeches, and that enthusiasm goes through. And also, if you've been in the organisation 13 years, mm-hmm. you may have forgotten how nervous you were when you first did your icebreaker or your second speech or third speech. Mm-hmm. So don't limit yourself on who can be a mentor and a mentee. In one club, Ray mentioned it, in DTM Pathway, every member of that club is a mentor and a protege. And we're following the pathway system so that everyone not only gets accredited, but we're helping each other and learning the skills of mentoring that we can use, not only in Toastmasters, but in the real world.
Mm. Okay. I was just wondering, Ross, if you can, you've mentioned Steve, Janet, Mike, and Tim as your mentors. I'm just curious if there's one of them who had a particular major impact on you, and how so?
I think they've all had different impacts. And there are others as well. It's not just restricted to those 4. And I think that's important. You don't have to be stuck with one mentor, because different people bring different skills and abilities to the table, and they can help you along your journey. And I could not choose one in particular, because each one of them has different specific skills that they've imparted onto me and refined my skills as well. And that's why they are still doing it to this day. And recently, I've asked Tim Blackburn to be a mentor of mine, because we've had a conversation about his speakers bureau. I'm not a member there, but I would like to develop a particular style of speaking there, and he's going to help me on that path.
Okay. What qualities would you say that they had, like Steve, Janet, Mike, Tim? What qualities do you think that they had that made them an effective mentor?
Oh, communication. That's the number one thing of any mentor. Mm-hmm. If you're not communicating with your protege, what's the point? There's so many people out there that just get the tick in the box by completing the competent leader manual. Oh, I've helped them in his first 3 speeches. But as I say, at my home club, we try to develop a culture. If you're appointed as a mentor for somebody, you're there until they complete their competent communicator manual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that didn't always work because, as we all know, only 8% of people in the world, worldwide in Toastmasters, only 8% complete their competent communicator manual.
Right.
I know District 17, for the 13 years when we're part of District 73 and then on our own, we've always achieved a lot more people, percentage-wise, than that 8% completing their competent communicator manual. We've always stood out as a district.
Right.
But it's not just, let's do the 3 speeches, then you're on your own. It's a commitment. It's giving back, and hopefully you're getting as well. Because as a mentor, you receive so much from the protege because you don't realize how much you can give.
What are some of the things that you've gained from the protege? It doesn't seem, I guess, logical at first. It's not intuitive that you would actually gain because you're going to be giving so much of your time and your talent and your knowledge to them. So what is it exactly that you gain from them?
It's giving back to the organization, and it's also developing skills that you can use in the real world. Like some of the skills I've learned about how to mentor somebody and the reaction, I use in my workplace. And that's why I love the new Pathways Mentoring program. The Pathways Mentoring program, once you've completed, well, we all would know that there are 5 levels in Pathways in any path that you choose. So when a member joins, they choose their path, and then there's 5 levels in the path, in each path.
Mm-hmm.
Once you complete level 1 and level 2, there's an extra educational that you can volunteer to do. It's not part of the path, but it's an extra educational. In all of the paths, you have to do a mentoring situation where you have to give a speech about what mentoring is all about, according to the Pathways, and also your own personal experiences of being a protege and what a mentor has given to you. I use workplace examples, not Toastmaster ones, and it encourages you to do that. And it shouldn't be a summary of the mentoring program, but just the elements of how you've gained. So it's making the members reflect on how mentoring has affected them over their life. And then it launches, if you choose to go into this educational path, level 3, 4, and 5 in mentoring. And it's a lot of self-analysis, talking to a protege, which is the new term for a mentee, and learning about how to look after that protege. And what I love about it is in level 5 of that, you actually have to sit down with your protege, fill out the goals that protege wants to achieve. What is that member wanting to achieve? And can you imagine sitting down with a new member walking into a club and sitting down with them as soon as they join or even prior to them joining, what do you want to achieve by joining Toastmasters? Why are you here? And they'll say, oh, I'm here to be more confident in public speaking. That's not an answer. Why? Why do you want to be a better speaker in public speaking? And you ask those probing questions and you find out the real situation. Because I'm an MC at a wedding, and that's a real life one of one of my proteges. He was an MC at a wedding, and we actually ended up running a mock wedding with him being the MC in our club.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've got to find out why. Is it a work presentation? Is it a promotion? Whatever it is, you need to find that out. And then you set the goals, or you and your protege set the protege's goals. And in Pathways, then you have to then sit down with them once a month and work out where they're going with their goals and achieving their goals. And level 5 in Pathways Mentoring is a 6-month project where you follow that person for 6 months. Then the protege does a report on you, on how you've been as a mentor. You do a report on them. And it's a great exchange of ideas and techniques and improvement for everyone. And I think, Ray, you've got some of the slides.
Yes, I do. So I've gotten some of the materials that you've sent me. So maybe you can go over them. So I think this first is the mentor self-assessment, like a 2-pager. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, well, the mentor self-assessment is self-analysis, because everyone thinks, oh yeah, we know what mentoring is about. but they actually ask you questions so that you can relate it to the protege and how are you going to help them, how are you going to communicate with them, and that's an important thing as well. I had one protege at club meetings, he didn't want to really talk about his journey and how he was going, but he'd love to catch up with me on a Saturday morning for a coffee. So I made that commitment for him, and I'd catch up with him for a coffee. It doesn't have to be in the club meeting. Okay, he was a personable person, so it was okay to have a coffee, but you can do it via Zoom, a phone call, an email even. But as long as you've got that constant contact. Number one, though, it should be face-to-face or, you know, on a phone, so you're talking to the person.
Right. When you say,
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned constant and it's a commitment. Maybe could you give us an idea of how long? Because some people are probably wondering, do I even have the time or the energy to be able to devote myself to this? It sounds good to be a mentor, but can I actually do it? So can you give us an idea of how long or how much time per week, per day that they need to spend on mentoring?
It should only be about 5 or 10 minutes every month or every meeting, because the mentor it's like a backup evaluator. If you're at your regular meeting, if you're a weekly club, you're seeing the person, 3 or 4 times a month. If a fortnightly club, hopefully you're seeing them twice a month. Mm-hmm. But even in a fortnightly club, and then after every meeting, you're talking to them about how they've done their speech. They've got their speech evaluator. They could be working on something separately that you are tracking all the time. Mm-hmm. And just a couple of words. I'm involved in a speechcraft course at the moment. And one of the girls came up to me and said, Ross, I've been told to talk to you. I want to specifically improve my presentations at conferences because I've got a major conference in 4 weeks' time. So besides whoever's evaluating her icebreaker and her next speech, organise your speech, etc., I'm making notes with her, and after the speechcraft course, she's coming to me and I'm mentoring her. I'm not getting accreditation or anything along those lines for it. She specifically asked me to look at certain points about her presentation, and I'm doing that as part of the commitment.
Right. So it's not really such a big time sink.
It is not a big time taker at all. But with the pathways level 5, with this mentor self-assessment, you're analysing yourself and what you're going to commit to the person. And it's not time commitment, it's a thought commitment.
Thought commitment?
Yes, that you're going to be thinking about them and giving to that person.
That's an interesting perspective there. It's not just...
I made that term up, Ray, but...
yeah, right. It's a thought commitment. Okay. Yeah. I should take note of that. Thought commitment. Really good. Maybe, let me just go through some other slides that you have here. So after this mentor self-assessment, we also have a protege success plan.
This is the most critical form in the whole mentoring program in level 5 in Toastmasters. Mm-hmm. in the mentoring stream. Your long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. And the short-term goals may be being able to stand up there and speak. It may be very basic things, create an icebreaker, medium-term and long-term. And I like the way they've got the evaluations now in Pathways where there's that challenge at the end. Mm-hmm. You ask, how can you challenge yourself? And that could be a long-term goal. And once you fill this out, and this can take a bit of time. The initial meeting with the protege will take a little bit more time because you have to sit down and actually nut out why they're there, why they've joined Toastmasters, specifically how they're going to achieve things. And it may not be just complete certain speeches or complete certain levels in Toastmasters. It could be completely left field. I remember asking a person in my home club, we do a commitment speech every 1st of July or first meeting in July, what do you want to achieve this year in Toastmasters? And basically that's a protege success plan for each individual in the club, but it's 1 or 2 items you want to achieve. It's the club success program that we do every July meeting, and we ask every person in the room and then send an email to those that aren't there. And one person turned around and said, I want to have fun. So that was what the protege wanted to do. Another one said, I want to know on table topics. So it has to be specific to why they've joined Toastmasters and what they want to achieve, the short-term, medium and long-term goals. And then you develop the plan of how they're going to actually achieve them.
Okay.
Which should be another slide there.
Let's have a look at that. So this is the tracking log?
Tracking log. This is critical. With the Pathways Level 5 mentoring, you have to track everything. As in when you're going to meet with them, the topics discussed, the action items, and the notes, if they've actually happened. And then you move those action items onto the next meeting. And as I said, it is a 6-month project and everyone should be doing it. And it may not be that every month you have the meeting, it could be every meeting you have the meeting, but you track it and you sit down with the person and work it out. And it doesn't have to take much time, only 5 minutes. So the protege knows that they've got that support.
Okay. Rightio. Over here's the self-assessment.
Yes, exactly. This is just helps the protege on going through and working out what their short-term, medium-term and long-term goals and what they want from the mentor as feedback to the person.
Right. Looks very similar to the
yes, it is.
In terms of the questions. Okay. Yeah. And then down here we have the monthly goal check.
It's critical. If you're doing the project properly, and let's face it, people that are doing anything in Toastmasters, you're only robbing yourself if you shortcut the system. Right. I saw somebody give a speech there a few weeks ago, and they said, oh, yep, I've been their mentor, to a protege for the last 6 months, and they hadn't gone through any of this. And that is wrong. You're only robbing yourself from the skills that you can develop and learn through this mentoring program.
Are you currently doing this program right now with someone, Ross?
Oh, definitely. I'm doing it with 2 people, well, 3 people actually. As I said earlier, DTM Pathway, we're focusing on the mentoring program, and every person in that club, they're trying to achieve their DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster Award, or their second or subsequent Distinguished Toastmaster Awards. And more importantly, we're trying to learn the mentoring program so we can take it back to our home clubs, because it is an advanced club. So every person in that club is a mentor and also a protege. And it's interesting, I sat down with my one protege in particular, Tricia, and went through everything that she wanted to achieve. And she said, well, I need 4 more speeches to complete this level in Pathways. And we just sat down and we programmed the club she was in, when she was going to do the speeches, what the speech was going to be about, and just put her in the right direction.
Right. Something as simple as that. Right.
It is so simple, because as VPEs, you normally know the system. New members don't, and you have to program it in. I'm mentoring a person at my home club. He's a naval officer, and I said, right, we'll get you through and you'll complete level 1 by December. He's been sent off in deployment overseas on a naval vessel, and he won't be back until January. So he's got all the things lined up, all his projects. So when he comes back, he'll be doing a speech every second week to catch up. And the club knows this. We're not pushing other people out because he's not going to be speaking for the next 2 months or 2.5 months. And then we're going to just push him through the system, and we're planning it in advance. And this monthly goal check is where we plan how things are going.
Right. Very, very detailed. Excellent.
It is. It's a superb system.
And then finally down here, I think we have 2 evaluation forms. I think they're similar, except one is for a protege and the other is for the mentor.
Yes, it's all about feedback. And the protege gives the mentor feedback. So the person that's the mentor is getting feedback about how they can improve and how they can develop as a mentor, not only in Toastmasters, but in the real world. And then, of course, the mentor gives the protege feedback on how they've been as a protege, because it's a two-way communication stream. Both parties have to be communicating to each other. I believe this new Pathways mentoring system is a breath of fresh air for Toastmasters. Firstly, if any person that walks into your club and is going to join the club, if you can say, from day one, you'll be allocated a mentor who will be here to help you and guide you along the way during your Toastmaster journey for the next 6 months, right? The next 6 months. That's a selling point that will secure that person to join the club. Also, even if you're a weekly club or a fortnightly club, we can program you in that you can do your 4 speeches in level 1 plus 1 evaluation. We can guarantee you in 6 months' time, through that mentorship and the programming, you will have a certificate at the end of it. The selling points of this new pathway program are so far superior to the old traditional system. So you can say to somebody, just give it a go for 6 months joining Toastmasters. We'll guarantee you a mentor for 6 months, and we'll guarantee you, if you do the speeches and commit, that you will have a certificate at the end of that 6 months, if not earlier.
That's really a good one. It's a good selling point.
The next huge point about it is, a person that's been a member for a long time, they can get stale. Suddenly, they're tapped on the shoulder and say, can you help this person out? Can you be their mentor for the next 6 months? It reinvigorates those longer-term members and secures their membership to continue on and give back to the organisation and develop their own skills at the same time. And the next point is every person needs a mentor. No matter how good they are or how many DTMs they have or whatever level they're at, everyone can still improve. So if you allocate a mentor in your club to an experienced person, they can still develop and learn as a protege.
That's a good point, Ross. You mentioned a lot of these articles, and I think just to provide some context, I'm going to show everyone here
where to find it.
Where to find it. So this is Basecamp. I'm in Basecamp right now in my account, and when you finish, let me just bring down my path here. Oops, sorry. Keep violating my own rule. I should click on the red button. There we go. And I believe everyone will go through level 2, and once we finish level 2, we're given a special path called the mentoring path. And we just need to activate it. And once activated, it shows up in the curriculum down here. In my education transcript, you might have glanced at it a while ago, the Pathways Mentor Program. So
Ray, could you just go back one page, please?
Sure. This one?
And could you it appears actually in suggested education, but in your bottom right-hand corner.
I see.
And then once you click into it, you launch it, and you have to complete the mentoring project in level 2. And then once you complete level 2, it appears in suggested education, then you can launch the mentoring project.
That's right. Good point for that. Yeah. It's just, I just have to let everyone know that you have to imagine that when I finished level 2, the Pathways Mentor Program, this one over here, it appeared here. It wasn't automatically added to my curriculum. It wasn't added to my transcript automatically. It just came out here as a suggested education. And I had to click on it and then activate it so that it would appear in my transcript. So I've obviously done that already, and now it's here, and this is what it looks like. So I believe to be a mentor, it looks like I have to do 3 projects. I think that's the key now in Pathways. Every single level, every single, it's always 3 projects. So the same way with the Pathways Mentor Program, I have Prepare to Mentor, Mentoring, and Advanced Mentoring. And I believe Prepare to Mentor is more about myself, more about helping me get into the right mindset of mentoring, while mentoring is actually me practicing mentoring with a with a member. Is that right?
Correct. It is a very logical sequence that they have. So prepare to mentor is a self-assessment of yourself. The mentoring, well, let's go back one step. Level 2 project is about your experience as a mentee or a protege.
Mm-hmm.
The preparing to mentor, which is level 3, is just yourself getting ready to be a mentor, and it's fantastic interactive projects that are in there. And
Mm-hmm.
then actual mentoring, which is selecting a protege that you can mentor and going through the self-assessment and their assessment, etc. And then the advanced mentoring is at the end of the 6-month project. It is a very well-constructed, simple system to use.
Right. And then once we complete this, plus we complete one path, then we're given a badge called mentoring from Toastmasters.
Yes, that's how important the Toastmasters are holding the mentoring program. They're not only you're completing your different levels in pathways, you'll have the additional recognition that you're a pathways mentor as well.
Right. And at this point, being a pathways mentor, then the VP can, or the mentor coordinator can assign anyone to you, and you are, I guess, officially a recognized mentor in the system by the organization.
No, not in the organization, within the club.
Or within the club, that's right.
Yes. The Toastmasters don't know that you've been appointed a protege. That's completely separate. It's the club that appoints the individual people to be mentor and protege. It's only once you've completed the level 5 that they know that you've gone through the whole process and done the job as a mentor. And on that, as Vice Presidents of Education, it's incumbent on to you to make sure that a person that is applying for this award has actually gone through and done the work. And good. We've had a situation where a VP rang me and said, what do I do in this situation? Because I know they haven't gone through the pathway system. And I said, they need to produce the goals. They need to produce the monthly record of the meetings. They need to produce the protege's the assessment, the evaluation, protege's evaluation on them as a mentor.
Right.
And once that's all produced, then it was completed and awarded, because otherwise people can just go through, tick the boxes, and that is only robbing themselves and unethical, in my opinion.
That's right. So in other words, they have to do all the paperwork, which is essentially filling up all these forms, that we see here.
Yes.
Plus the evaluations there.
And it's not a cumbersome project.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very enjoyable project. To work with somebody to help them achieve their goals is one of the most fulfilling things that I do in Toastmasters. That's why I'm still here after 13 years. Mm-hmm. I don't want awards and etc. I'm looking after it's all about the members and the new members, how they change, and you can be part of their change.
Right. Here's the question, Ross. I know it's in all this time that you've been speaking, you just talk about mentors and proteges being matched. But I think that's probably one of the difficulties that maybe some clubs have. They don't know who can be a mentor, who can be a protege, and who would make a good, I guess, coupling or partnership. So how do you determine, first of all, like if a match will work? Like if this person, if you have a pool of mentors, you have a pool of proteges, how do you match one and the other? And what would make that work? What would make that relationship work?
I believe in like with like.
Like with like.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I have been a mentor to somebody that was my son's age, right? 26 or 27.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I was meeting with coffee, and it worked well. But it would have been better to have somebody his age to be his mentor. If you've got an engineer in the club and another engineer joins the club, which we've had at my home club, you match them up together because they've got similar goals and interests. It is important to match people. If we have young university students, which we've got quite a few in my home club, if another university student comes along, may not be the correct situation to be a mentor and protege there, but you match them up as buddies, basically, and then maybe mentors, because people can relate to people that are in similar industries or similar objectives why they're there.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about relatability. So that's the key thing about the match.
Yes.
Okay.
Like if I was to be matched up with a quantum physics professor that wants to present a project at a convention, I can help him with presentation skills. But it could be better to match him up with a professor that we've got at my home club, who's an engineering professor that could know the secrets about a technical presentation better than I do.
Okay. But don't you also think that if you match people from different even industries, that they could learn something? So sometimes
that's definitely, because let's face it, the basic skills are the basic skills of presentation, no matter what industry.
Okay. So like for like, but I guess sometimes look for the odd one out, look for the left field one.
Yes.
Those things could work sometimes.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. I have one last question for you, then maybe we can open up the floor for questions, because it's just been me so far asking, and the chat has been quite quiet. So I'll ask one more question, and then I'll open up the floor for other people to ask Ross some questions as well.
Or even their experiences about mentoring.
Yeah, or even share your experiences. Fair enough, yeah. So Ross, if I was to start an effective mentoring program in my club tomorrow, given that no one in my club is a Pathways mentor, where do I begin? How could you outline the step by step what I need to do to start an effective mentoring program?
Right. There's only 2 Pathways mentors in WA at the moment that have completed the 6-month project.
Right.
Myself and Kuti.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that there aren't other mentors out there. We have had in the old traditional system a mentor there helping out new members. What I do is I get a list of all the club members and put it down on the left-hand side on a spreadsheet, and then all the club members that have been there for 6, 12 months or got up to their CC number 5 or completed 1 or 2 levels, and I put them on the top, and then we match them up and allocate. The critical thing is that you don't overburden a too experienced member, because it's a matching of personalities, and you say to the protege or the new member, we've got a mentoring program. Is there somebody in the club you'd like to be your mentor? And normally it's always the more experienced person. So it is better to say, we have got these 3 people that are available to be your mentor. Which one would you choose?
Okay.
And if you haven't got the Pathways mentoring program if you haven't completed level 2 and you haven't launched the Pathways mentoring program, hopefully somebody in the club has, and they can share the resources. I understand Pathways that you're supposed to go through each level at a time and then learn and then progress to the next one. But I think the mentoring program is so critical, maybe there should be some flexibility in the rules that members should share that information. No, that's not what Toastmasters would envisage is the correct thing to say, but I believe it is so important for new members to consolidate them to join guests, for existing members to have a role as a mentor to retain their membership, for existing members to improve their skills as well. It is so critical that the mentoring is launched in a big way.
Right. So you're saying that if someone chooses, let's say, dynamic leadership as a path, then someone who's in level 5 dynamic leadership should be willing to share, like, okay, this is what you're going to be looking at in level 3, level 4, level 5. These are some of the projects, and perhaps to get them excited about it or get them thinking about it. Is that
definitely thinking about it and getting excited? The other thing about the mentor coordinator in the club, it is their responsibility as well. And I honestly believe the VP has got too much on their plate. at the moment, especially with Pathways as base camp manager, that you appoint somebody as a mentor coordinator, an experienced member in the club, and their responsibility as well is making sure that the mentors are looking after the protege. Because in the old system, oh yeah, I'm there for the 3 speeches in the Competent Leader Manual or the Advanced Communicator Gold, but they're not really doing any work, and that is wrong. The mentor coordinator is there to make sure that the member, it's all about the member, is getting the support they need. So they're checking as well to make sure that the mentor is doing the right thing by the protege.
Right. Taking a lot of notes. I hope all of you are taking a lot of notes as well. These are really good stuff, because I personally have never been a beneficiary of a mentoring program in all my time in Toastmasters. And
so Ray, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
Since 2015, November. So coming up on 3 years.
That is terrible.
So I've been trying to also establish a mentoring program when I was the VP, but I don't think, honestly, I did a very good job of it. I was trying to take on too much, and I couldn't, there was no structure at that point and no means for me to really follow up with them in a organized way, an effective way.
I'll make an offer to you and any of the VPEs that are listening, or any VPE in District 17. DTM Pathway Toastmasters is a club that's set up to help people achieve their Distinguished Toastmaster Award. But it's also there to support other clubs and members on their own personal achievements, which may not be to achieve a Distinguished Toastmaster Award.
Right.
We've got a group of dedicated members. There's about 12 or 14 members in the club, and any one of us will be willing to go to any club in Western Australia and explain the Pathways mentoring program to them and establish one in their club.
Sounds like a great idea. I think particularly some of the new clubs that we've just chartered would really benefit from that.
Exactly, because if you start off with it, that's the norm, and that's how it happens.
Yes.
Yeah, but even the existing clubs and struggling clubs especially, if you've got a mentoring program in place, it is critical.
Okay.
I just would like to touch on one other thing you brought up there.
Yes.
The clubs. I've helped establish about 7 clubs so far, and I remember when we set up Willetton Toastmasters, there were 5 experienced Toastmasters there, and we had 4 or 5 proteges each, and it was a really tough gig to look after 4 or 5 in the one club at one time. And John Palmer,
right,
experienced Toastmaster, he actually had his mentees turn up for his place on a Sunday morning for brunch and run little workshops for them and go through what they were wanting to achieve. So there's lots of different things that you can do.
That sounds like a great idea. And I think it's really all about building relationships. I think that's also the understated bit about mentoring. You're building great relationships that could last a lifetime, because you're making such a great impact on them spending this time. And I can imagine like just going every Sunday or whatever day to someone's place and just being given all this.
He was doing it once a month and just got together. And he said it was a lot simpler than him running around and talking to people on the phone. He said, I'll put on coffee, some croissants, and come on over, and we get through things. And he ran mini educationals for them as well.
That's right.
Like the topic, overcoming nerves, or the Better Speaker Series educationals.
That sounds a great idea, yeah. And
but
nowadays...
That can be done at a club level as well, especially for the new clubs.
And nowadays with technology, you can even run sessions like this that we're having right now on Zoom, where people can actually just join in from anywhere and everywhere and listen to an educational. So this kind of forum could also serve as a good way to mentor people.
Definitely.
All right. Fantastic. So I'd like to open the floor now to all the other participants. If you have any questions at all that you want to ask Ross about mentoring, feel free to either type it in the chat or unmute yourself and start speaking.
Hi, Ross. This is Rocco. I'm just wondering, with the mentoring, does it in any way does it involve also looking at their speeches or helping them with their speeches?
Oh, definitely, definitely, Rocco. It takes on so many different aspects of mentoring. It can be like I get a lot of mentoring on leadership because of the positions I hold in different clubs, but it's also about my presentation on speeches. That's why I've asked Tim Blackburn to be a mentor for my speaking style and development of a particular speech that I want to do. It's like I said earlier, the mentor can be the constant that the new member or the member has while they're doing their presentations. Because you get a different evaluator each time. They read the objectives and evaluate you on the objectives. But the mentor can be seeing a pattern that's happening or something you're trying to develop over time. For instance, the use of palm cards or vocal variety or inflections in your voice or filler words. So they could be working on that in the background and just go up to the person at the end of the meeting and give them that additional feedback.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that.
That's a great point that you brought up, Ross, and I think that also deserves some emphasis, because every evaluator is only evaluating that speech, right, and nothing more. So everything that they're giving feedback on is based on that one performance alone. But members need an overall visibility of their performance, which can't be judged from just one performance alone. They need to be able to see, as Ross mentioned, a pattern. So if I give 3 speeches for level 1, I could have 3 different evaluators each one, and they only evaluate what I spoke about. But the mentor sees all 3 projects, and then he can come up and give me additional feedback. It's like a different dimension, really, that none of the other the other evaluators could see, because they were just looking at one performance rather than overall.
Definitely.
Okay, any other questions?
Ross, it's Dennis Chong from Noranda.
Yes,
I got a question in terms of, I mean, so can a members get a mentor from a different club, not from their own club? Is there any restriction in that?
There's no restriction in that. The only problem is, will that person, depends on what they're mentoring. Because Dennis, if they're mentoring them on the speeches that they're presenting, if they're from a different club, they won't be seeing them present speeches, correct?
Yep.
Right? Where if you were to, if they're mentoring them on other aspects of their Toastmaster journey, like I have people that are not members of my club that are mentoring me on different aspects of leadership, that could work, but it would be better to have somebody mentoring them within their own club. Is there a specific instance or a situation that you're referring to, Dennis?
No, I just picking your point earlier. You are talking about trying to match the mentor and mentee. I mean, with a similar goal, because there might be a situations that you can't get people with a similar goal in one club. Because like in my club, I got not a very small club. So maybe through the networking, somebody from a different club, that may able to help you. With a similar goal. So I just thought of kind of brainstorm.
Yeah, Dennis, I think that could work because you could be mentoring somebody. It's a bit like these life coaches out there. I actually don't understand life coaches, but it's a bit like a life coach sitting down with you and discussing how you go. So I'll be sitting with you, Dennis, or on the phone. How you going? And you could be describing a situation at Toastmasters or your speech development or your presentation that isn't going well, and the person can give you advice. Realistically, it is better to be in your home club so that they can actually visualize and see what you're doing. But yes, you could do that, but that's a stretch, I think.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Well, everyone else looks like they're great proteges and they're great mentors.
Yeah, they understand the topic completely. Oh, Ross, a question just came to mind. What if you're a member of multiple clubs such as yourself? So you mentioned that you and Kuti are the only ones who finished the Pathway Mentor program itself, but you haven't finished a path yet, right? So you don't have the badge yet. Nevertheless, if you're a member of multiple clubs, then that recognition applies, right? So you're in DTM Pathways or TLI or Leading Lights, then you're recognized there officially as a Pathways mentor.
Correct. It's like any educational award that goes with you. It's not aligned to a club. The award is your award.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd love to see the district have that many mentors that complete the Pathways Mentoring Program and set a standard within not only our region, which is Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and a little bit of Indonesia, but right across the world, as we are doing so well in Pathways at the moment with the uptake. We're number 1 or 2 in the whole world, so we need to keep that going, and let's all roll out the mentoring program.
All right.
Yeah, I just have one more question here.
Yes.
So just now, I mean, I think we we go through at level 3. There will be the start of the mentoring program, and then I think we cover the notes for level 5. The question I would have is that for level 4, is there any particular thing on the mentorship, or mentor?
Right. Okay, Dennis, let's clarify this. In Pathways, right across every path, you have to complete in level 2 the mentoring project, where you reflect on you being an actual mentee, protege, and reflect on somebody that has mentored you, and also go through the aspects of the Pathways Mentoring Program. Level 3 is a self-assessment of yourself as a mentor and how you can improve. Level 4, you actually engage with somebody as your protege and you start mentoring them. And level 5 is when you've completed the 6 months as a mentor to a protege. It's a very well-structured course. So it steps you through from, level 2, which everyone has to do. Let's think about what mentoring has done for me in my life. Then it opens up that educational program that you can log into, and it's not compulsory to do the mentoring program, but I believe it's essential for clubs to progress and develop. Then you can go to the level 3 yourself, level 4 the protege, level 5 after the 6 months. It's a very basic overview. There's a lot more detail in it, and it is a fascinating project to get involved in.
Ross, just a quick question, because you mentioned that there's a level 3 in mentoring, level 4 and level 5. Does that mean, because right now I'm in level 3, I can do prepare to mentor?
Correct, level 3.
But I cannot go to mentoring unless I actually finish level 3 in my path. Is that correct?
No, wrong.
Right.
It's nothing to do with Pathways. It's a additional extra educational that's available to you, and you can go, if you complete the prepare to mentor and you can complete that tonight, Ray, then you go on to level 4 mentoring straight away. Then you need to select the protege, and then you can complete that, and then after 6 months complete the advanced mentoring. Completely separate to the what you're doing in the 10 paths in Pathways.
Right.
You're in there. It's completely separate. And I believe they're bringing out I know they're bringing out other additional projects or educationals that you can do. The one that really excites me is parliamentary procedures, which is basically meeting procedures. And they're bringing that out as an additional one, like the mentoring, that once you reach a certain level, you can then shoot off and do this additional educational and an added benefit of being a Toastmaster to get it for free.
Right. Okay, so the use of level is completely different in context from the levels of the paths.
Correct. If you were to keep on, if you were to explore,
Mhm.
and anyone else out there that has completed level 2 in Pathways can launch the educational on mentoring program, and then you go through, you've already done the mentor program number 2, and then you do the 3, and once you complete that, you go on to the mentoring, which is 4, and then advanced mentoring, which is number 5.
Right. So it's in sequence. Right now, I can only activate this. Once I finish this, I assume the mentoring will activate, but this will still be disabled.
Yes. Now, Ray, why haven't you activated it?
I haven't started it yet. I'm actually focused now on getting my silver award in the traditional program, which
Right.
that's part of my goal. So
Yeah.
I can't handle everything all at once.
And I'd just like to reiterate, for any of the VPEs out there, if you need assistance in setting up a mentoring program in your club, DTM Pathway Toastmaster Club has got very competent and experienced Toastmasters who are willing to come along and speak about this subject and help the club set it up.
Fantastic. I just message everyone in the chat, the name, DTM Pathways, and they meet once a month every 4th Thursday in Victoria Park.
Yes, anyone's welcome, but we're willing to come to your club to help you.
Fantastic. All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, I probably have one more, if I can probably just get a little bit more definition from Ross. How do you define the difference between mentoring and coaching?
Right. Interesting. In the project 2, level 2 in Pathways, you actually go through and they explain this. Coaching is like you're telling a person, like, let's look at football, how to kick a football properly, or how to handball ball properly, or in golf, how to putt properly, etc. Whereas that's coaching for a specific skill. Whereas mentoring is the overall aspect. It's a bit like strategy and tactics. A tactic is how to actually do something, whereas a strategy is the overall goal. And it's about achieving the overall goal of the person. That's why they've made it a 6-month project, so that you are basically coaching them, but mentoring them over the whole 6 months. And if you go through the level 2, 3, 4, and 5, it really defines and explains how, what the differences are, and how you can help the person, not by coaching them, but by mentoring them and giving them the right direction to go.
Thank you. I did have a look at that because I'm actually at that stage.
Yeah.
And so that's why I need to prepare my own speech. But I'm just interested to see how someone else which has had more experience in it, to how it's seen from different versions and in different interpretations as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and it's covered in the program. It is a superb program, and everyone should be involved in it in Toastmasters. It's an added benefit for your membership as a member of Toastmasters.
If I may add also, Rocco, some insights, because I did read a little bit about the mentoring program. I like one of the phrases that they use when describing mentoring. They say it's all about helping the Toastmaster find their way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Find their way, their own way. So like with coaching, you're teaching a particular style, a particular approach. But with mentoring, you're really helping them discover their own style, their own approach that works for them. And so then they can then achieve their goal in that fashion. I think in addition to teaching but with the key difference with mentoring is about teaching them the way to think about things, teaching them the mentality, the philosophy. When you give them that perspective, that high-level understanding can then translate to specific tactics which work for them, that they can discover on their own. So with coaching, you're talking about specific tactical things. With the mentoring, you're really focused on the high-level blocks or thinking patterns that will enable them to unleash their full potential. So in that sense, it's really more exciting and could potentially leave a bigger impact in the person's life.
Yeah, thank you for that. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I need to leave. As I said, I got another Skype call on, Zoom call now at 9 a.m. So I need to go. So thank you very much, Ross, and thank you,
Thank you, Rocco.
as well. Much appreciated. And everyone, have a good night.
Anytime, Rocco.
Yep. All right, and I'll be wrapping up myself. It's 9 o'clock, and we've covered a lot today about mentoring. And I would just want to thank Ross. Thank you, Ross, once again for giving so much of your time and your experience to us. I think it's been clear that you've been a mentor for us for the past 1 hour by helping us, by opening our eyes to what really mentoring in Toastmasters is all about. And you've inspired some of us to really think about how to implement a good mentoring program for our club. So I thank you for that, Ross.
Anytime, Ray. Anytime.
And thank you also to everyone here tonight and for this final VP support session. There will no longer be any VP support sessions, so I've run out of topics. I think I've pretty much covered everything that a VP is supposed to be doing. And if I have missed anything, then please feel free to email me. I'll just type in my email here. But yes, this will be, as of this moment, the last session. And I just want to thank you again for everyone for coming, especially some of you who've been here since the beginning, coming consistently every single time, like Dennis. Really appreciate your presence and your support. So thank you once again, everyone. I wish you all good night and all the best of luck in becoming the best VP you can for your club.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
All
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.